Can a woman love you if she doesn't respect you? Whew. This is a tough subject, man. This is a tough one. I've got a few thoughts on this, but it is a tough subject. And I do believe it has to do with, it's part and parcel with her hypergamy. A woman's hypergamy wants the man to be successful, and she wants to be proud of her man. I believe that's very true. The problem with this, and it's the same, and when I say it's part and parcel with hypergamy, is it's the same problem with hypergamy, is that in order to love you, she has to respect you. What that means is that you have to bring something to the table. Again, you can't just be yourself. You can't just be who you are. You have to have something attached to your name. You have to have resources, success, consistency, responsibility. You have to have those things attached to your name. And the funny thing is in society, or quote unquote, the matrix, right? They don't even see anything wrong with that. That's like, yeah, you know, you as a man, you gotta bring something in. And I've had many encounters with friends and women and people who really believe that, to the point where, you know, they look at you weird if you're not succeeding. They think, well, this guy's a loser, this guy. And it's like, when you really break down the science of what that means, of what that implies, is it implies that unless you succeed, or unless you bring something to the table, whether it's resourcefully or financially or whatever, people don't want to be around you, you know? And it's like, it's really, animalistic's not the right word. I always use that word animalistic when I talk about hypergamy, because, you know, it's the choosing process, but that's not even the right word for this. And shallow's not the right word either. It's, I don't know if I have a good word for it, honestly. It's just not loyal. There's nothing loyal to it. And, but you gotta recognize that, and I recognize it, that so much of the world is like that, where it's all about pride, right? And what I mean by pride is it's all about what you have achieved. Everything is about achievement. And it's like, God, man, I'm thankful that I mean, okay, you know, I grew up playing basketball and I was successful as far as making the team. I wasn't that amazing, wasn't that great. I got to a point where I was pretty darn good around 19, 20, but I decided to go a different route because I felt like it would have been way too difficult for me to even go pro overseas. So I got to a point where I was advanced. I wasn't beginner, I wasn't intermediate, I was advanced, but I wasn't professional, right? And it's very, very difficult to go professional in basketball on any level, let alone the NBA, which was my dream. But I wasn't realistic. I wasn't really explained the chances of how hard it is, and I wasted, well, I don't know if I say I wasted, because it built character, but I spent about 5 years really, really dedicating myself to basketball. So I have not only success, but leadership type molding in my background, right? Because, you know, to be on the basketball team, it requires character, and that's all about leadership and things like that. And the reason why I bring that up is because when I went down that road, I was exposed to a lot of people who put a lot of young kids and a lot of parents, particularly like dads, who were pushing their son hard. They wanted him to be the best and things like that. I was exposed to a lot of families and environments of people who really were dead set on success. Success was kind of like what they were all about, right? And, you know, we live in a world where there's motivation everywhere. We're inundated. We are just blasted on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram with all these motivational quotes and motivational channels and all. And it's like It's always the same thing. It's always teaching you how to do something better, always teaching you how to achieve something better, and learn to do this and learn to be more disciplined and this. And it's like, oh, it's like, just shut up. How about you learn to just enjoy life? How about that? Get this guy from behind me because I want to drive a little slower. Sometimes I don't like driving fast as the person behind me, but like, it's all, and when I was exposed to those people, it's like the negative side of leadership. It's like, it's good to have some skills, you know? It's good to have discipline. It's good to have responsibility. It's good to be consistent. It's good to go for things you want, you know, no guts, no glory. Like, be bold, take risks. Like, that's okay, you know, in life. You know, I always use the example of, like, you know, I had these friends in my 20s. I used to really want to start a business, and I had these friends in my 20s who I'd always ask them, like, hey man, let's start a business. Let's put a couple grand in and let's start a t-shirt business, or let's start a apparel business, or let's start this company and that company. I was always coming at my friends and they never wanted to commit. I mean, you can't put up, what, $2,500? You work, you save, you put up $2,500, you might make back $50,000. You might make back $75,000, $100,000. Like, and you work a little bit, right? But no, they were too busy, like, oh, having fun. They wanted to go get drunk, and they wanted to do this, and they wanted to chase girls, and then at the end of that, they wanted to just go work some job where, you know, like, oh, I clock in and I'm there my 8 hours. I just zone out and I'm just doing my job, and I come home. And it's like, for those kind of guys, like, maybe they do need some motivation. Maybe they do need someone to say, hey, take a risk, you know, do something out of the ordinary. Because it was frustrating. I'm like, hey man, I want to get rich. I want to make money. There's money out here. We can do it, you know. But they never wanted, and I needed help. I needed help not only to finance it, I needed help to market it. Two heads are better than one. There's a lot I couldn't do on my own. Nobody wanted to do it. Nobody ever wants to commit. Right? Because people are, particularly guys, believe it or not, guys, sometimes women are more willing to take risks when there's a big payoff, believe it or not. But sometimes guys, they just get in this cycle of, like, you know, everything is consistent and I just want to be in this little comfort zone. And it's like, yeah, for those guys, maybe they need motivation. I'm not that type of guy. I never was. I was always a self-starter. I was always ambitious as fuck. I was always taking risks, always trying shit. A lot of times it didn't pay off. But I learned when it didn't pay off. You know, I learned the hard way a lot of times, and I learned great lessons from my mistakes and my failures, you know? I'm not saying that I'm amazing. I've got all kinds of flaws, but you learn and you grow when you step out and do things. So I get that. I understand that part, but there's a difference between that per se and somebody who, you know, like taking a risk here and there, or being motivated to okay, you know, well, why don't you try something different? Why don't you get off the couch, or why don't you stop going to the bar? Curb your weed habit, curb your alcohol, curb your your little pornography habit, all these things that these motivational channels, sometimes that can help some of these guys, right? But a lot of it is just the same recycled rhetoric over and over again. And what you learn is that it's actually playing to these guys' insecurities, because these guys probably do need to overcome some addictions, or they probably do need a kick in the butt to get out and do something, right? They never really hit home for me that much because I'm a self-starter, and I know what confidence is. I know how to have confidence, how to build confidence. You do it by taking the risks. You do it by putting in the work. You do it by getting out there and doing something, right? That's great. Nothing wrong with that. But what I see, and as I said before, the matrix, right? The matrix. We're talking about the matrix, and we're talking about it from a red pill perspective, particularly how the matrix views men. Now, when I was in college, there was a guy named Charles Darwin that I studied a little bit, and I learned about Darwinism, and I learned that it's not the most strong or the toughest or whatever. Here's that quote, you know, species that survives or whatever. It's the ones who can adapt, right? And that's a great quote. It's good. It's true. It's right. You should be able to adapt. And I believe in adaptation. I don't believe in evolution as such, as it's taught in schools and all that bullshit where, you know, one species evolves to another species. No, I don't believe that. I don't think there's any evidence for it. Some people will pull, you know, fossil records out of their ass or whatever. When you really get into it, that there's real big holes and real big fraudulent shit going on. But anyway, that's another story. But the negative part of the evolution theory is that the winner gets all the spoils, right? The winner. It's always focused on the winner. Now, I said the Matrix. So when you look at the Matrix from that perspective, and I use this example of growing up in these families, you know, growing up and seeing these families in the basketball games and whatever, and these parents were riding their kids and just, you know, you gotta win, and these strong parents. And it's like, when I watch the kids, and I remember this specifically, and I was like, you know, between the ages of 13 and 18, growing up, watching this, going to tournaments, going to playoff games, and going to the intramurals and all the things that we did in the summer, and then also the the regular season, and you would see kids' parents push them hard. And then what I noticed was, because their parents pushed them hard, and it wasn't a kind of loving push, it was a you better succeed push. The kid became, I don't know how to put it. The kids became, well, it was a young man, right? So the young guy became really kind of cold and mean almost, to where he was like, just almost like a machine, right? And it was like, now that I'm, in my 30s and looking back, it's like, there's no humanity in that. Now, on the one hand, that's too much, right? That's too far. On the other hand, then you got these other people who were like, oh no, everybody wins. Oh, everybody gets a participation trophy and everybody's a winner. And it's like, those people are too far on the other spectrum, right? There needs to be a healthy balance. Like, okay, do your best, right? Do your best, work hard. If you lose, okay. Like, I still love you. If you lose, I'm still your dad, or whatever, but it's like, they push you to be excellent at the cost of love, if that makes sense. And then you grow up, and I saw that, and there was something in my heart that was like, there's something not right about that. I couldn't, I'm young, I'm 14, 15, I didn't understand it, but it just didn't strike me as right. Now, mind you, my dad took off when I was 12, excuse me. My dad took off when I was 12. He was an alcoholic, dysfunctional, so I didn't really have a dad. All I had was a loving mom, right, who wasn't all that involved in my sports. I mean, she asked me how things were going and stuff. She wasn't all that involved. So I really just I didn't have any really reference point, because my parents just weren't, they were pretty much just hands off, right? So I didn't really have any reference points. So in a sense, it was good, because I could look at what they were going through, and I could look at other kids and kind of compare how their parents treated them and things like that. And I could sort of get my own take. I could sort of get my own, opinion on the matter. And how I felt on these parents who were really driving their kids for success was, all that mattered to them was success. It didn't matter how they played the game, as long as they succeeded, as long as they won, or they played the best they could and got the most points or whatever, right? It didn't matter the sportsmanship. It didn't matter, their character in the game or anything like that. All that mattered was them winning and doing the best for them. It was all about them. It was like a selfishness, right? How's my son doing? How many points did my son have? Instead of looking at the assists, right? How many assists did my son have? Because an assist is like, that's teamwork. That implies you're working together. That implies something collective. That implies something that's sort of selfless, which is, there's merit in that. But when you have these selfish players, and I always say, like, I love Michael Jordan, I love, you know, I've grown to respect, I don't know if I love, but I've grown to respect Kobe Bryant, even though, you know, he died, rest in peace. But I loved Allen Iverson, okay? But I always said this, I would never want to play on those guys' teams because they were ball hogs, okay? They wanted the glory for themselves. Now, does that mean they were not great? Absolutely not. They were awesome. They were amazing. Probably the 3 best shooting guards in NBA history. You know, you could argue Steph Curry's up there now and, you know, a couple others, but I would never want to play on these guys' teams because they don't pass. It's selfishness. Basketball is a team sport, and that's what makes it fun. Everybody's involved. There's not one person who's taking all the shots, you see? So there's a character involved there. So with these kids who their parents rode them to be so good, it became all about them. They didn't give a shit about their teammates. They weren't loving their teammates, respecting their teammates. Oh yeah, good job, buddy. Hey man, you know, you did good out there. It was all about them. And this is kind of the Matrix. This is kind of how the Matrix is, right? It's all about the individual. It's all about the self, right? And the reason why I say all this, the reason why I use this long example is because when we're talking about love, when it's real love, okay, if it's selfish, if it's all about you, and the reason why I use this example is because when we're talking about a woman respecting a man, what is that for? Is it for him or is it for her? Think about it. Is the respect that she has for the man for him or is it for her? It's for her. It's not for him. It's for her. She wants to be able to be proud of him. She wants him to be able to be successful. Now, on face value, on the surface, you would think, yeah, I guess that's reasonable. That seems okay. But hold on a minute. What happens when he's not successful? What happens when he doesn't win? What happens when he fails? What happens when he gets fired? He develops an alcohol problem. It can happen. It happens. He gets sick. He can't work anymore. Something happens, some flaw in his health care insurance, and he gets fired, or he's let go and he doesn't get compensation or something. Well, now he's no longer the winner. Now what happens when he can't bring home the bacon? What happens when that security is taken away? You see? Now she's no longer proud of him, right? And what does female nature do at that point? It picks up and skips out. It goes and finds somebody else. Right? That's what it is. That's what hypergamy is. If you can't perform, it's Darwinism. You can't perform, you can't survive. Well, then you're done, I guess. You're not going to be able to have a family. You're not going to be able to have a wife because she's no longer attracted to you because she doesn't respect you. But I question, what is that? Right? What is that? Is that human or is that animalistic? It's a tough one, man, because we're so programmed in this matrix for men. And in my opinion, this is a minor part of what I would call quote unquote toxic masculinity in a roundabout way. Or I would say it's a toxic way the world puts honor on men. Our honor is not just in who we are. It's not in our character. It's not in the way we love. Our honor is in our resources. Our honor is in our ability to provide. That's where our honor is as a man. And you know, I always thought it's just like, again, what happens if you can't do it, right? What happens if you can't provide? You're done, or is she gonna stick with you, right? So it's like you gotta question where our values lie. Now, there's a great quote here And I actually have never, I quote this verse from time to time on my videos, but I never actually have read the verse out. This is a great verse, man. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8. Now, I'm not sitting here preaching Jesus. I'm not sitting here preaching Christianity or religion. I'm just saying objectively listen to these verses. Objectively. Okay? Now, if you want to talk a little bit about God and things like that, well, I would say the Bible is a representation. It's an explanation of how God feels and thinks. So if this verse is talking about love, we can surmise that this is how God loves us. Okay? Let me just read these. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always loves, always hopes, always preserves. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. So all those things will pass away, but love never fails. Those are great verses, man. Now let's break that down a second. Love is patient, love is kind. How often do you meet a patient and kind woman, right? Come on now, be honest. How often? Do we train our women out there to be patient and kind? I mean, it's pretty rare. I mean, she knows how to be sexy. She knows how to be confident. She knows how to be a diva. She knows how to be a bad bitch. She knows how to be a heartbreaker. She knows how to be a tease. She knows how to be slutty. But does she know how to be patient and kind? Whoa, hold on a minute. What are those virtues? Patience and kindness? How does that work out, right? Are men even attracted to that? I don't know. That's a good question. I like kindness in a woman. I wouldn't say it's sexy, but it's very attractive in the sense that she's got a good character. That's attractive to me. You know, it's like I'd want to be with that kind of girl. I'd want to get to know that kind of girl if she's kind and patient. She's got character like that. But we don't teach them kindness and patience. We teach them how to be sexy. We teach them how to get guys to chase them. But we don't teach women how to be patient and kind, do we? Right? Now let's go on. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. And it is not self-seeking. Whoa! Not only are there very few patient and kind women out there, how many of them are not boastful, are not prideful? I mean, you know, maybe boasting is not the right word for women. Women don't really boast, or do they? Right? If a woman is proud of her husband, she's going to gush over her boastfulness. Oh, my husband does this, and my husband did that, and my husband, right? So I guess some women do boast, or maybe they do it in a subtle way. But they're certainly prideful. You wouldn't say that a woman's not prideful of her husband, because again, what is respect? Respect is being proud of someone. I'm proud of my husband. That's respect, right? So proudness or pride is part and parcel with respect in this sense. It does not dishonor others, right? Have you ever been dishonored by a woman? Has a woman ever disrespected you and dishonored you? If she no longer wants you, her hypergamy kicks in. You're a loser, you lose your job, whatever. Well, she's dishonoring you by leaving you, right? But that's her nature. So her nature in and of itself is dishonorable. If it's hypergamous, if she's not kind and patient with you. But let's go on. It is not self-seeking, right? Well, the whole thing is self-seeking. What's she doing when she's seeking a high-value man? Is it for the man or is it for her? It's for her. So she's self-seeking. She's self-seeking when she wants this high-value, successful, resourceful man. Right? That's self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongdoing. How much do women remember all the shit that you did? How much do they keep score of all the stupid or shitty shit that you did? All the time, right? They're like little calculators. They're like little notebooks recording all the dumb shit you did, so they can use it against you, or so they can use it as an excuse to why they don't want you. You know what? He's not valuable enough. He's too beta, or he's too this, or he's too that, because this time he did that, and that time he failed there, and he made this mistake, and that's just such a turnoff. I'm not proud of him for this, right? Well, what does that turn you into? It turns you into a circus performer. You're a performing monkey. You got to at all times make sure that she respects you. And this is what these motivation and / dating sites do. This is what they teach you. Oh, make sure, you keep your frame, and make sure you're masculine around her, and make sure you don't act beta, and make sure you do this, and make sure you do that. Never put her on a pedestal, and always be on your purpose, and this, that. Why? So that she can be proud of you and respect you, right? And that sounds good, but again, is it for you or is it for her? Is it for her selfishness or is it for your love, right? Think about it. Now let's take that and let's take just that and sort of apply it to all these relationships out here. How many relationships out here are really founded on love like that? I wouldn't say too many. I would say most of these relationships, most of these marriages, really their foundation is on the security of his resources. And that's also where she feels the pride in him. Well, he's a good earner. See, look at all these nice houses, right? Some man earned these nice houses, and then a woman, and it's great, it's beautiful. It's like, I want to live here. I'd be so happy if I lived here. But would the woman stick around if he lost this nice house? Or would she leave? Oh, we had this nice house and he was doing so well, and then he got fired because he said something wrong and ruined our life, and now I just don't love him anymore because I don't respect him anymore. Right? Well, that's what it is. That's what we're talking about. But is that the type of love that's right here in the Bible? God's type of love? No, it sure doesn't seem like it. That's a conditional love. That's the Matrix love. That's this evil world's type of love. You're only loved and respected as long as you're bringing something to the table. And you'll learn this about if you have a lot of friends. You'll learn that they really kind of only like you because you're successful. And that was one of the best things that I was taught by failure. By having success and then having failure is once you fail, you fall off, you're on top, you're doing well, you're confident, everybody likes you because you're succeeding, you fall off, the rug is taken out from under you, all of a sudden you don't have any friends. All of a sudden your friends ain't calling you no more, they ain't inviting you to the parties anymore. You're no longer popular because you lost what they really liked you for and respected you for. They didn't respect you for you, they didn't love you and like you for who you really are. It was for your success. Okay? Let's go on. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. Right? Well, everything we're speaking is truth. Do the women like the truths that we speak? Or do they coil up like a rattlesnake and shoot venom at us and try to attack us when we speak these truths? Ask yourself that question. Do women really rejoice in the truth, or do they recoil at the truth of their own nature? Think about it. They certainly aren't real accepting when I speak these things. I'll tell you that much. I don't know about your guys' experience, but they ain't treating me real nice when I speak the truth. Okay, it rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. I like those words, always. It always does these things, right? If you really love someone, you want to protect them. You want to trust them. Or you know, you put your trust in them. You put your hope in them. You put your hope in their future. You pray for them even. It always perseveres. I said preserves, but it always perseveres. That's a great word, perseveres. Trusts, right? Protects, hopes. That implies, those words imply that somebody is sticking with you through your hardships. Does God leave you whenever you sin? No. Does he like it when you sin? No. But he doesn't leave you because he loves you. Does he love you when you have failures and when you can't ever succeed and you got nothing but failure? Yes. Does he leave? No. Does a woman? No, she leaves. Because once she loses that respect for you, which was there because you were successful, then she's no longer attracted to you. And when she's no longer attracted to you, she doesn't want to fuck you anymore. She doesn't want to have sex with you anymore. And her hypergamy kicks in, and I can do better. This guy's a loser. I need to find somebody else. And even then, her friends and family come in and say, oh, you can do better. He's a loser. Get somebody else. He lost his job. He'll never get back on his feet. Is that love? Think about it. This is the matrix. This is the world that we live in. You succeed or you are tossed to the side. Survival of the fittest, right? Darwinism. It's animalistic. And we just accept that. Even though we got 1 Corinthians chapter 13 in every Bible, and the Bible is the most sold book in the history of the world. Yet how many people out here actually follow it, actually read it, actually are living by the precepts of 1 Corinthians chapter 13? Go read it. Great verses. How many women really love you with that type of love? Is it even in their nature? Very few, very few. Appreciate you listening. Jay Lee Northwest Podcast.